money played an important role. What is that? It's so easy that you go get a kitchen sell where you will sell, and then it's about that transition, how my life has changed. What if it fails?
Don't let fear stop you from doing what you want to do.
If it is life thing, whatever it is, I am not fearful of future. Simple math problems that I'm solving. I'm a woman, I can do that. You should have that financial literacy and you should be able to take that risk. And I want to live in the moment. On after this podcast, I don't know how I'm going to evolve, I don't know.
Who is Gopika then behind this venture called Ruffleberry as a person?
वेलकम बैक टू विचार वाइब्स। आज की हमारी गेस्ट है गोपिका। गोपिका इज अ प्राउड ओनर ऑफ अ ब्रांड कॉल्ड रफलबेरी बाय गोपिका। गोपिका की कहानी किसी मूवी से कम नहीं है। इस कहानी में ड्रामा है, इमोशंस है, कैरेक्टर्स है, उन कैरेक्टर्स को आर्क है, एक जज्बा है, एक जुनून है। इन शॉर्ट ये कहानी वो है जो आपको ना सिर्फ इंस्पायर करेगी बट इट विल लीव यू फीलिंग गुड एट द एंड। सो वॉच टिल द एंड।
Hi Gopika, welcome to our Vichar Vibe studio. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Noel. How are you? I'm doing great.
I'm also doing good. Thank you so much. I think this is really busy times for you. Congratulations on your new collection.
Thank you so much. Thank you for keeping an eye on that.
So let me begin with that. How is the reception to this new collection of yours?
It's amazing. I think if you've seen the page already, we have shifted
Yes.
the way we photograph and videograph on Ruffleberry. So that change, initially, we thought that it is definitely hectic because I have to go outdoors having a baby at home. I have to go outdoors, that too in this season where weather is too hot. I used to, I have to go inside a tent and change multiple outfits, and then, I'm sweating. I have to put a makeup again. It's really hectic. But I think it's worth. Now the response is amazing. Like every time it is good, but this time it has reached to another level. Everybody started DM me saying that, Gopika, this transition is really good. We could see that effort that you're putting in. The videography, photography is so beautiful. So that again makes me forget all that hard.
But that is so true, Gopika. I mean, like Vichar, I was also a fan of Ruffleberry, and we will come to that part. What is Ruffleberry all about? But when I'm following you on Instagram, when I see your reels, I was like, okay, this is something new that Gopika has brought in this new collection. It has some kind of freshness, Your outdoor shoot, like you said, it's not easy, with the family, with the business going on. But I really, really loved your, let's say, the collection. How do you say the advertisements for it? How would you say this?
I would not call it anything. I'll say simply, change in the way they are portrayed. That's it.
But I have to say, lovely.
Thank you so much.
So Gopika, since we already touched upon Ruffleberry, just to also let the audience know कि Ruffleberry क्या है, why do we have Gopika आज हमारे साथ and Ruffleberry के बारे में क्या बात करें? So Gopika, थोड़ा बहुत Ruffleberry के बारे में please share with us.
Definitely. So Ruffleberry is basically a clothing brand which is there on Instagram, and we are available on our own website as well. Nowhere on Amazon or Myntra. We are solely on Instagram. And Ruffleberry is basically, simple, classy, everyday wearable kind of dresses is what we make. And our primary focus is on cotton because as, weather seasons are changing, despite different seasons, despite different weathers, people are moving towards wearing more breathable kind of fabrics. So under that comes cotton, which is our primary focus. And from slim belly to 9-month belly, anybody can wear our outfits. It is completely wearable, completely stylish, but very basic. You don't have to play too much around wearing those outfits. You go to office, you go to some Paris, we have customers who wear it, wear in the house, and also to Melbourne festivals as well, to Singapore, to Dubai, which is amazing thing. That itself says like how, women are wearing these Ruffleberry outfits. And we have addressed few key points when it comes to our clothing. The first is, the height criteria. Women are of different petite ranges there than a medium, then tall people. Everybody is given with same length. That's a different thing. They cannot buy one length outfit and cannot style it. So we have addressed few points in Ruffleberry where the lengths will be customized, sizes, and also from extra small to 7XL. Anybody can style our outfit. So in one word, I can tell you that Ruffleberry, we offer wide range of maxi outfits, especially because later other categories we are getting into it, but our main focus is maxi dresses, which you can just put on and just go out there. But whatever your event is, you can just go happily, enjoy it. It's breathable, it's comfortable, no peekaboo moments, no moments. You can just play around, enjoy, forget about what you're wearing. That's it.
That sounds really, really great. Also, I've seen you have a very cool colors. You have you cover white, black, orange, red, purple. I think in your collection you have something called Purpleina, something like the name. I really yes, I was like, okay, there are so many colors, not only sizes but also colors that your customer can choose from. But while you were talking about Ruffleberry, Gopika, मेरे दिमाग में आया कि ये नाम कैसे आया? How did you choose Ruffleberry? What made you choose this?
Actually, Ruffleberry, now if you ask me, even like a few months ago, me and my husband, when we were talking, he told me while we were having dinner, he told me that, how did we come up with Ruffleberry? When we actually named it, it was very normal. But now Ruffleberry seems very brand kind of a thing. And we are like, how did we even come up with that name? So actually, there's a backstory. Initially, this company's name was Nego by Gopika. It was like a normal small home business kind of a thing. When we wanted to convert this into a startup, we were thinking of some brands. Me, my husband, and my brother-in-law, we three sat and we were saying like strawberry, some different names we were saying. And I was like, if we look at the dresses that we have already posted, I could see that all the dresses almost have ruffles and tears in the outfits. So I thought, why not we choose ruffle? And while we were doing like mulberry, strawberry and all of this, we merged ruffle and berry and we were like Ruffleberry. This seems quite okay. And the other day we completely kept, mouthing that name Ruffleberry, and we felt like it is okay. And then we went for incorporation. When we gave it, it immediately took that Ruffleberry name, and somehow it's like destined. Somehow it happened. Ruffleberry.
But then this really interesting touch to it that you were trying all different combination, and finally, Ruffleberry is a brand today, isn't it? So, just taking one step back, you mentioned about Nego by Gopika, yeah? Which transitioned into Ruffleberry that we know today. Gopika, what made you start or think about starting a business? And when did you actually started with, this, okay, let me do this clothing brand Nego? Yeah, could you just can you please share with us the journey?
So basically, I did my graduation in engineering, electronics and communications. So while I was studying, I did not have any future plan as to what I want to become, or this is the area I want to get into, this is the career I want to. I was very naive. I did not have any knowledge as to, I did not have laptop. I don't know how to get on the internet. And because I belong to a very small village, it's Bakrapet near Tirupati. I'm very proud to say that I belong to that village. So we are more into 90s, watching TV, playing and all of that. And during my engineering, we never had discussions in the college or in the family as to, you become a doctor or you become, some other dancer or a singer or whatever it is. We never had any sort of discussion. So I think that was the thing which was completely not in my mind as to what career I want to choose. But when I finished my graduation, I have to do some job, obviously. My sister, she made her career into banking sector already by then. She told me, go to Bangalore and try some recruitment, something wherein you will learn, you'll meet a lot of people. You have to recruit new people where you'll get, in conversation with them, you learn a lot. Because I was sort of introvert. I'm also an extrovert, but I was sort of an introvert at that point of time. I was very kiddish. So I was like, okay, chalo, let's do it. I went to Bangalore. I gave interview. In the first shot itself, I was selected. It was a normal consultancy. But I must say, I have learned a lot. I changed as a person. I met so many people. Even the CEO, team leaders, everybody started appreciating my work. I learned literally a lot, which if I have to say, like today, what Gopika, you're seeing this transition happened in my first job, which I'm very proud of. And while I did that recruitment for about 4 years, though I learned a lot, it sort of became a monotonous work. It really nudged me that I cannot stay here and work the same thing every day. So that's I thought, let me quit this job and go back to my village, and then I'll decide what I have to do. At this point of time, my then boyfriend, who's my husband now, he gave that boost and he told me, like, see, you're a very bright student. You've always been that. Why don't you try for UPSC exams? IAS, IPS exams. I was like, what are you talking? Why would I get into IAS and all of that? I don't want. Okay, chalo, write bank exams. What? Government exams? No, man. What are you saying? I was like that. And then he is like, no, please try. First go through the syllabus, read everything, and you'll understand what is. Okay, then I read the syllabus. It was all NCERT. That is what I have read in my schooling from 1st to 10th. I was into CBSE syllabus. So I was like, what? That's it? Okay, chalo, I'll do it. With this job, I went to my hometown. I bought all the books. I started reading. I was also parallelly writing bank exams, which I cracked for, I think one exam I cracked. The last round, I could not crack it. I left it there. While all these things were happening, I thought money played an important role because I was already 24, 25 at that point of time. And financial stability, or what I say is having some, I said 1,000 rupees in your hand means a lot at that point of time. Even if I want to buy a skincare, even if I want to buy a dress, I have to go and ask my dad or mom. At that age, it's very awkward, I would say. So my mom used to understand this thing, that zeal that I had, that I want money, I want to have my own thing. So I was more onto YouTube and Google at that age. And while I was going through YouTube, I came across several YouTubers who were already hitting some, they were doing some amazing work. They were getting these brands, they were growing in their life. What I mean to say is they were earning unlike other jobs like doctor or, teacher, unlike those jobs, YouTubers, so they were making money. I did not understand, like, how are they making money on YouTube? We are used to certain professions, right? And this is completely different. What is this digital world? Then I began to research, what is this digital world? How are people earning money in this? Okay, then it began and I understood. I followed few people who really grew in their careers, particularly on YouTube. And out of a very casual conversation with my mother, we were like, let's do something. My mom's already a teacher. She knows tailoring. She's an expert in tailor. She has got around 20 plus years of experience. She was like, okay, chalo, I know tailoring. Let's design some clothes and we'll see how it goes. I don't know from where we got that, thing that we will put money, we'll get the fabric, we'll stitch it and we'll sell it. What is that? It's so easy that you go get and stitch and sell. Where you will sell? You will call people, oh, where you will sell? We did not even think of all that. You're like, okay, we'll do it. How you will do it? We did not have any plan. No grand visions at all. It was zero. Just go, get, make, sell. That's all. My mom, she was not bothered about where I'll sell, how I'll sell. This was not there. But you get the fabric, I'll stitch, I'll give it to you. Do whatever you want to do with it. Then we went to Tirupati. We sourced some best fabrics. Before that, we told this, idea to my father. He was a little skeptical. What are these people doing? My mother is already a teacher. She does not have time. Morning she'll go, evening she'll come, and then evening again home business is there. So and this girl is preparing for bank exams. So in between this, what will they do? Obviously, my father was like, why you want to waste the time? Basically that, because in our middle class families where time, values, education are held in high regard. So he was skeptical, yet he gave us modest amount of 5,000 rupees, which he did not know, he did not even imagine that he marked the humble beginnings of where Ruffleberry is today. This happened because my dad gave that 5,000 rupees that day. And we took that 5,000. We went to Tirupati. We sourced some best fabrics. We got it, and we made few dresses. And after which I wore them. I did some small photo shoot and all of that, and I posted on Instagram. Now Instagram is another story. It is a very long story. I'll tell you later. But I got on Instagram, and then slowly I somehow sold those outfits. There's a lot of work there. You know how I sold those outfits. And then it began and it grew to such a level that, Nego has evolved into Ruffleberry, a startup company, I would say, where 2 people were there in Nego, and now we have around 15 plus people in Ruffleberry.
So, Gopika, your journey, I mean, the way you narrated, it has so up and downs. I mean, it's about a simple girl, yeah, who did not have, or let's say, I would not say you did not have any ambition, but you did not know where to go. You have guidance,
Yes.
you had support, but you were
Right.
not sure about your goals. And something came from inside, from within you, and now you see how this has bloomed into, yeah? That's so amazing, this up and downs. Right? So we usually, within our Vichar Vibes, Priyanka and Rashmita, we always try to, when we discuss Gopika and Ruffleberry, we always think about, this is like a movie story. It has there's so many characters, and there's such an arc of how Gopika actually evolved,
Sometimes even I close my eyes and I'm like, where was I? Where am I now? If I have to buy a small face wash, I have to think 100 times now. Now I can, if I want to buy something, I'll just go buy it. That's all. So that transition, it's not about money. It's not about having money right now and not having money back then. It's about that transition, how my life has changed. How much it has changed, that solely depends on how much work I and my team has put up. It was not just overnight. It did not happen. Effort was there. That is why it is so fruitful. It is so, happy to feel that it was not there at that time. Now we have all these things. It is so, happy thing, I would say.
Yeah, and also very satisfying you.
Exactly.
So, Gopika, you told us about how Ruffleberry started, from Nego, the journey to Ruffleberry. Or let me say like this, the journey of the simple girl from a small town in Tirupati and how she has now evolved into this Gopika from Ruffleberry, yeah? But as we have embarked in this journey, yeah, I'm pretty sure there must be some doubts that you have faced, yeah? Because, I mean, you yourself were not sure what you wanted to do. But I can take the example of myself, yeah? If I start something, I always ask myself if I am confident enough to do this. Do I deserve to do this? Can I do this? Did you also face such doubts? If yes, how did you deal with such dilemmas?
Okay. Definitely there was a significant dilemma in my life at that point where I transitioned from IAS, IPS sort of career to this one. So initially when I was, my primary focus was on UPSC and banking. I did not have any other plans in my mind. And when this thing came in between, again, it was just for fun. I was very much sure that I don't want to, leave this preparation here and get on to this. That was, I was very much sure. So my focus was on this. But as sales began, as I was responsible to handle certain number of messages I was getting, money I was getting, but that was not a thing because I can stop at any moment of time. I can just tell them that, it is shutting. I am no more doing this. It's not about money, but even I'm not posting any outfits. I was getting thousands of messages on Instagram, like, when are you launching next stuff? I want this, I want that. Looking at those messages, I had the sleepless nights as to I am responsible to answer those people. I cannot let them wait for 2 or 3 days. I'll be like, I'm busy. I'll answer to your DM after 3 days. That was one thing which was there within me that day and even today. If I see a message, I have to reply that message because I feel if I'm there in their place, I want that person to reply to me, immediately. That's how you can keep that community close to you. So that one thing I told my mom, I want to make sure I address all the DMs end of the day so that they know that Gopika is available. They know whenever they have any queries over what, even if it is a normal chat also, they know that I'm available. So they keep DMing me and I also answer them. But slowly it became very hectic for me, answering, 5,000 messages a day for just what? 5 dresses that I post. No, stop also. 5 dresses that I post, I get thousands and thousands of messages and I'm just sitting and, replying to them. It ate lot of my time, lot of my energy that I saved to, for preparation that was going. Even while I'm eating also, I'm looking at phone and I'm, addressing the DMs with left hand and I'm eating with right hand. I was not knowing what I was eating. This thing went on to my head so much that I was not able to concentrate here. And I was not doing lakhs and lakhs of business I was not doing so that I can take one immediate decision that, okay, chala, I'll leave this and I'll get into this. No, it was not that. Beginnings, right? But even if it was beginning, it was too fast that I can say, the messages or the sales that I was getting. And I was like, okay, I think I'll have to get into this and I'll stop doing it. But obviously, if I say this to my dad, he's going to rip my skin off. He'll say, like, what are you thinking? What are you even thinking? What do this? You did engineering and you want to sell clothes here now. Because selling clothes is, again, in villages and all, people sell clothes sitting at home. They'll resell the clothes. They'll get saris from other locations and they sell it. People do that. So it was like that, and this decision that I made for myself was within me. I did not share it with anybody. I did not tell it to my mom or dad. I told my sister was a very big moral support to me. She's always there. Okay, she's my elder sister. She, whatever I say, she thinks of it in my point of view, in my perspective. She thinks and will, yeah, this seems working. You get on to it. No, you do it. We'll see later what we can do. Like that, she used to give that moral support and inspiration. So yeah, definitely I took that decision. But mind you, if I take up this path of business and if suppose it fails after a year or two, I cannot come back to this era where I was preparing for UPSC because age is a criteria in government exams. If not this, I have to do some other job, which I'm okay. I'm okay to do any kind of job, but my age, my time, my energy has gone those 2 years, which I have to hold accountable, which I have to be responsible about if I'm choosing this path. So I spoke about this with my now husband. I spoke about, he said, you prepare for it, just don't leave it, but focus on, business thing. So this dilemma was there even after I made a decision of shifting. I still had this dilemma, what if it fails? What if it fails? What if it fails? What if it fails? If it fails, you go back and do something. Yeah, why you want to? Now I can tell you, like, why you want. I'll tell that Gopika, why did you bother so much? Why did you break your head so much? If it fails, you'll go back and do something else. If not UPSC, one needs to be very open to change. One needs to be very, your life is not going to be the same always. You're waking up today happily. You won't wake up happily tomorrow. You might be crying, or you might get some emergency. Your life will not be the same. Is that programmed or what? No, right? So now, if I think of that dilemma which I faced, it was very, very, deep. It was very deep. That dilemma was very deep because UPSC, banking, and this business, which is giving me some peanuts. So yeah, definitely it was challenging for me. But then I somehow jumped onto it, and you know where Russellberry is again.
Gopika, but let's say it can act as an obstacle. Yeah, in your case, you try to overcome it. For some, it might not be the case. What do you think is the reason that we, as human beings, have this fear, before we start anything? Is it the expectation of the society, of the family, or do you think it's more about our own expectations?
See, I think fear should be there. It's not a bad thing. If you have fear, then you will act responsibly in whatever work you do. If you're not fearful, if you're not scared, that means you're not thinking about it. You're just going with the flow. If you're going with the flow, at some point of time, you will not feel as excited about that when you were there on the first day. You will start, because if there is a strategic planning, if there is a fear within you, what if this does not happen? You have plan B, plan C. All of these things make your life in a more, what I would say, scheduled way. It's a more planned way, I would say. Now, there are people who say that I'll go with the flow. For me, life, I want it to be easy or, fun. I totally agree with them as well. Some people, they just don't have any plan. They'll wake up, they'll do whatever they feel like doing. That is also a very good thing. But not everybody is instilled with that sort of free flow nature, I would say. So for me, definitely fear was a factor. Fear is still a factor to drive while I'm driving this Ruffleberry. Even my husband, my team, my tailors, my master, everybody is fearful because now we are leading such a big thing, and we are, paying salaries to so many people. So many people's families are running, and we have so many things. We have certain debts to clear. Fear needs to be there so that you act responsibly. But when you ask me if fear is stopping people to take some steps, I would suggest, I advise them, you should take, because if that time passes by and then you'll feel like I should have taken that step, what happens? What happens? Will the earth fall, or will the earth break, or what volcano will come? No, right? You take that step. It's not about life endangering thing where you jump into the ocean or you're jumping off the mountain. It's just a step that you want to take in your career. But do it with a planning. You don't have to leave something that you're already doing. Arey, what if I leave this? Don't leave it. If you're that doubtful, keep it, do it. Also, dedicate some 4-5 hours in a day, or at least 2 hours in a day to the goal that you want to do. In that way, you can manage both so that you don't have that thing in your mind, what if it fails, what if you have this already with. So to overcome that fear, one needs to have a very good planning, and fear must be there is what I feel.
Yeah, Gopika, this is such a nice message. I mean, you said that it's okay to be afraid of. It's human. Yeah, being afraid is human.
Yes.
And then if you want to do something, it's always good that you have a strategic plan behind it so that you can always fall back on it, like you fall back often. Yeah, but don't let fear stop you from doing what you want to do. So, Gopika, a few questions before you somehow gave us a glimpse into Gopika the person. Yeah, so I kind of understand. Let me see. I felt that the Gopika that I'm talking to now is this determined person. Yeah, is that correct? My assumption, or let's say assessment.
I want others to tell me if I'm determined or what. I don't know. I don't want to say that I have so much determination, dedication, and all of that. I want you to tell me that.
I mean, if you look at your journey itself, Gopika, yeah, of course, this is a story of a determined girl. Unless and until you have this self-determination to prove something, I don't think you would have come to this stage. Yeah. So this is really, so that I can tell you, you are full self-confident, at least now, you're full self-confident and a determined person. But of course, all of us do not know about Gopika, yeah? So, who is Gopika then behind this venture called Ruffleberry as a person?
Yeah. So, before I say that, I think I would say I'm not the person behind Ruffleberry. I am just a part of, a story. I'm a part of a story. So the pivotal moment came when my husband came into the picture. So we got married. He was the one, as I said, he was the one who showed me the analytics of how this business is going to be. He has foreseen the future of where this is going to stand. And when he told me this, I was that person where, you're talking too much, this is not going to work that way. Now we are earning like in thousands, and you're telling that we would earn crores of money in this, whatever you're doing. So it was as this middle class, or what I would say is, we are scared to see too much of money. If you're given too much of money, I don't know what we would do, but we're scared of even thinking about too much of money. If I go and say like that, I'll do this, I'll get some 100 crores in this, like, shut up, that's not going to happen. So it's like that sort of, mentality. So he was the person, if at all he opposed me, or if my husband would have told me that this is not going to work, just get on to UPSC and do it, this is going to fail, the Ruffleberry would not have been here, because he is the person help me incorporate this Ruffleberry. Every damn thing, every technical thing which I have zero knowledge about, even today, I have zero knowledge about what happened behind the scenes while this Ruffleberry was established. So, be it from incorporation, meeting these corporate affairs, getting technical things, finances, operations, website, everything, he did it with his bare hands, I must say. While he was doing this, he also, since I said he has foreseen the future of Ruffleberry,
Okay.
with his well-paying job to my dream, he left it and he completely dedicated himself into this, and which even he did not ever imagine that he would leave his career and get into his wife's career, because even in the college, like I said, we were together studying, and he had completely different, he wanted to become an IPS officer, but somehow due to his circumstances he could not do it. So he told me to get into UPSC so that I could fulfill his dream, wherein I would also be in a good position. But even I did not get into UPSC, I got into something else, and again he came into my way. So I think I'm very lucky to have these people who contributed to the invaluable success. This contributions that they have given is very, very invaluable. And
Yes.
my mother, who is a teacher, she teaches her school, she comes back in that 2-3 hours, she cooks for us dinner, and then she sits and she stitches those dresses. My father, who is a retired Navy officer, he does not think that why am I doing this, why should I do it. He takes up the customer's outfits, he overlocks those outfits, he irons them, he packs them. My grandmother, who was 60 plus years at that point of time, she takes care of logistics. She used to take these packets to nearby post office. She sits there for hours, she gets those billings, she comes back, she gives those billings to me. My sister, who has been a moral support, my cousin sister, who she's around 10th class, I believe, she used to take pictures of mine, videos and all of that. And I was wearing multiple hats, doing social media, messages, posting, editing, these things. Now, if you ask me that one person, Gopika, if she's behind this Ruffleberry, I would definitely say I'm not the only person. These are the people. And now today we have like 15, as I said, tailors, master, we have technical team. Everyone, each and everyone, they feel that Ruffleberry is their own company and they put their 100%. I'm not telling this just for the sake of it, but genuinely, they have been there in Ruffleberry since the time it was incorporated, when I got married and moved to Hyderabad. Those tailors and that masters are there even today, which usually they don't do. If they work in some boutique, they'll work for a few months and they'll leave, they'll move to another one. But surprisingly, these people stayed, and I can see why they are staying. It's because they're getting paid well, timely basis, because that's more important for labor, to get timely payments. That we are able to do without fail. And here I completely I'm grateful and thankful for the community that I've built, the customer base that I've built. They have seen, like as you said, as you have seen Gopika then and now, even they have been through this entire journey, that they trust me so much that whatever I do, they're always there to support me. So Ruffleberry is about everybody. It's about everybody. It's definitely not me alone.
But then also, Gopika, to touch upon this point, I mean, I have to say, first of all, like, I really like the way you appreciate or give, the credit to those who were really, the backbone of Ruffleberry, and the support system that you had. But I was also wondering that this girl from Tirupati, from a small place in Tirupati, now moved to Hyderabad. So you as a person also transformed with the business, So how was this Gopika? Let's take your engineering stage, Gopika, and now this Gopika. So how did you see this transformation as a person also, individually?
So there is a lot, I should say. I was a very active yet silent kid. If relatives visit my house, I'll just go into a room and I don't talk to them also. Even if someone is on call, I'll be like, how are you? And Mummy, I don't want to, talk. It's like that. But now I'm doing a podcast, I'm talking to people in my office, I'm, talking to customers. This change is definitely a big change within me if I see Gopika that time and now. Apart from this, I have, I don't understand certain things like feminism or women empowerment. or these things. I did not have any knowledge at that point of time, because I was not on phones and all of these things. I don't much of magazines. We don't get magazines over there, so I do not have. But now, during this journey, when I got onto Instagram and I have seen young girls doing some massive businesses. They're selling scrunchies, they're making these bow clips, they're making some jewelry out of clothes, they're doing footwear, they're doing everything under the roof. Everything. In every business, woman is there. She is the lead person. Looking at that, I was like, what? These girls are 21, 22 years, are already doing so much. And that's when I think that scene which I've seen, that is what changed me from within. As Gopika, who was away to all people, who is not too much talkative, is now too much talkative. She speaks all the. Even if your customer messages, hey Gopika, how are you? I can just simply say, hey, I'm fine. How are you doing? No, I'll be like, how are you? How is your baby? How is your family? Did you how did you wear the outfit? I keep talking. It takes so much of time from me also write so much of message, but naturally comes. I just talk to them. They also feel very connected. That is not business mentality, I would say. I'm not doing it because I want that customer to be there with me so that she buys the next outfit. It's not that. It just naturally came that I build that connection with them, and how if they have an event, somehow they'll say, I'll go and buy in Ruffleberry itself. I don't want to buy anywhere else. So that thing, it happened. It happened somehow. So this also, as a person, I have evolved, talking to people a lot. And now from here on, after this podcast, I don't know how I'm going to evolve. I don't know. But nothing big. I have changed to a person where I'm ready to take challenges. If I'm thrown with a challenge, I'm ready. I am not fearful. I will deal with it. If not today, if not tomorrow, someday I'll deal with it. I'm not fearful of it. Even if it is financial thing, even if it is work thing, if it is life thing, whatever it is, I am not fearful of future. I'll just work for present. Whatever comes, it comes. It will definitely pass. If you're genuine, if you're honest, if you're loyal to what you're doing, sincere, then it will pass by. You don't have to worry about it. That I have changed. And problem solving skills is what I have developed. If there is a problem I come across, I definitely, if I'll be able to resolve it. I don't know how I'll resolve it, but I'll be able to resolve it. Be it on, videography. Now, see, you have seen that changed videography of.
Yes, of course, yes.
Continue doing the previous way. I don't have to change it suddenly, but I did it for certain reasons, and now that is again a huge change. So I'm always ready for that change. I'm always ready for any sort of challenges. I'm able to resolve some certain problems. This is what I have learned. I cannot tell you too much, like I've changed, I've evolved so much, but these are the things I have changed.
I mean, also Gopika, I think 99% resonate with you. The moment you started that you were this introvert kid, that you would not, relatives, I don't want to talk, So as a child, I was also a very introvert person. I would really run away, hide myself inside a room if I see relatives around, But as I have grown up and now in my professional capacity, I also see that you also personally develop so much. That one part is that, of course, you have to interact with different stakeholders, different individuals. But somehow I also felt this. It's not that I am doing this because I want a certain thing from someone. It's just this intrinsic, the desire to connect to that individual, which matters the most in the end.
Exactly. That matters the most. In every area, in every field, this matters the most. It's not about what you would make gaining if you're doing something. You do this, you get that. You do this, you get that. It's not about that.
And yet this human-to-human connection is so important, Not that you make connections with everyone, but this, the first step, just try to know the person. I think this is also a very fulfilling thing in your life. So, but Gopika, while you were also explaining this, you kind of mentioned the word challenge, So let me ask you, what was the biggest challenge that you have faced until now in your entire life when it comes to your business?
Today, if you ask me, like on a daily basis, I do face challenges. Now, if every day, if you call me up and ask me, like, what are the challenges you face today, I have a list to tell. But as of today, if you ask me, because the challenges are resolved, I don't see them as challenges today, if you ask me. I'll tell you those are not challenges. Come on, yeah, they were simple math problems that I was solving. That's it. But there's one challenge which I think I'll remember forever is the time when I became pregnant. As I was the face of Ruffleberry, people were used to see this face, clothes on me. I became very skeptical. My bump was growing. I don't know how these outfits would look on me. That was very challenging. And even if there was a mild difference in the sale, I would feel it is because of me, because I am great, because I'm very inactive, I'm feeling low on energy, nausea and all of that. I'm not ready for the shoots. Tomorrow, if I have to post something, today I have to do the shoot, I have to edit it, I have to post it, I have to write the captions and everything. I have to look on for hashtags and all. That's too much of work for me at that point of time. But even that, I don't know what's given that energy. My husband was there beside me. I was somehow able to shoot until I was 7th month. In the 7th month, my backbone and everything started paining so much. My bump was growing so much that I was not able to wear the outfits, change multiple times. Even my face was looking very dehydrated. My nose was enlarging. My skin was sort of becoming a dry patches. I was not able to put foundation, makeup also. So the work that I was putting in the shoots, I was not satisfied. I was not looking great. The outfits were not looking beautiful. I was not satisfied. At that point of time, my community, people from my community, they were like, I asked them if they would be generous to come down and shoot, and they were so kind. They came down, they shot for free, and they were there with me. Even the shoot period, I was there. I was not able to stand also. I was guiding them to pose like this, like that. I was not able to stand. They were there getting me water. They were there, pressing my legs. They got me chair. Something I will not forget. I'll remember forever. So that also passed. Outfits, they wore it. I posted it on Instagram. We got good amount of sales. That also passed. But after that 8th month, when 9th month came, tomorrow is my delivery date. I should go and admit. So the previous day I had shot the video in the house. I have set up this room, the room that you're seeing. We got some properties from IKEA. We set it up. And I did the shoot here. I was doing it so slowly, and still we got sales. See, these things are not affecting the business. That is only because of the community that I built. The support that they're giving me. They know that Gopika is in this position right now. They know that she's not able to shoot it. She's not able to do it properly. Yet they see only the dress. They don't see if I have belly, if I'm bending. They're not seeing all that. They're seeing the work that I did, the dress that I made, and they're taking it. So that was the biggest challenge. Even today, if I think of how all that happened, I get goosebumps. I'll be like, how did we do it? Because that after operation scene was immense. It was immense, hectic. We have to constantly design clothes. We have to shoot, all of these things. And cut to that, it's passed already. The challenge is resolved. But it was definitely your biggest challenge, I should say.
Definitely, Gopika. 3 days after you delivered a baby, and then you are like standing there. I have to say kudos to you and more power to you for what you do. But then, Gopika, you're not only, let's say, a determined person. This is another sign how determined you are, because you ask, the others have to tell you. But this also shows how dedicated you were or you are for your community and also for your brand. It also shows a lot about your personality, Gopika, I have to say.
Yes.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
This is you, yeah.
I didn't know that. So many things are there.
And then, since we talked about our challenge, I think there is Instagram, social media driven. So we are doing now businesses on social media, through social media. But that also means a certain pressure which is associated with social media. We at Vichar Vibe also feel that, because you have to gather followers to bring the story so that the outreach is like more. But that would also mean that you have to be creative. You have to, come up with new content. I guess the way you now have these promo reels for your new collection, that was also kind of, fresh idea, a way to promote. So how do you deal with this pressure or navigate through this pressure that is associated with social media?
See, social media is what's running the world these days. I think Shopping days also, it's all digital thing. It is no more physical, it's no more manual, it's all AI driven and social media driven. But one must remember that these platforms, they come and they go. They're not going to stay forever. Like just like TikTok and other platforms which taking so many people built their careers on TikTok, and you see now they're not. Like there are so many platforms, you never know how they will perform. All you have to have is, like I said, plan B. You always should have plan B. Don't completely rely on social media. Don't spend too much time on that. But to your question, the pressure, definitely, even a 19 or 16-year-old child who is on social media creating content like videos or something is constantly under pressure. Nobody is pressurizing the person like, you post this, you post it, but they are self-pressurizing by looking at other reels, looking at other views. That person who is from my same school is getting like 1 million views. Why am I getting? That is not going to take them anywhere, but still they are so self-pressurized as to this is what I want to do. They're so much involved and indulged into social media from the time they wake up till they sleep. Even the sleep time is changed. They don't sleep at 10 o'clock anymore. They sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning. They wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning. Everything is disrupted these days. The entire routine is disrupted. But how? I cannot speak about other people because I don't know, they must have got some plans as to why they're on social media. I don't know that. But for me, I have undergone decently good amount of pressure on social media, but I realized it pretty much soon, and I made sure that I'm going to divide this thing. I'm not going to be there so much on social media, and I constantly promote that on my page where I tell people not to be on social media. I constantly ask them, what's your online time? How much time do you stay on Instagram? That there's a competition. Like I'll tell I'm there for 30 minutes and some other customer of mine say I'm like 20 minutes only. So that is a happy thing where I try to tell them not to be on social media so much. You come, you do you see, you watch it, you watch one reel and you just scroll. You don't know why you're watching, and when you realize you already 1 hour is gone. You don't, it just goes off like that. So this pressure, I realized it very soon. I even tell my parents. Of course, my mom is constantly on Instagram. She looks at it, but I tell her also. And my husband, who is currently taking care of this business also, I tell him, even if I look at him watching reels, I'll tell him it's already been 15 minutes. You're on Instagram. You just shut it off right now. So I make sure we are mindful. We are mindful. Mindfulness is very important. What you're eating, who you're talking to, what what the other person is telling you. If he's asking you to do something, you're not listening to it because you're on the phone. The time passes, you will miss these emotions, you'll miss these relationships, you'll miss these conversations. And wherever you go, you are, taking your phone, capturing photos, videos. You are not in the moment. This is my opinion solely. Whatever you're eating in the restaurant, you take phone.
Take a picture of the food first.
Enjoying the food. You go to a place, you're not enjoying the place. You're with a partner. You're going to a place. You talk to your partner. Feel the environment, and but you just take your phone and you vlog it and you speak. You're not enjoying with the partner. At least go alone. I feel this is what I have observed, and it has eaten up so much. I don't know what I am telling is right or wrong. I don't know. This is what I feel, and I don't want to get into this
race.
Yeah, this race I don't want to. I definitely want to be mindful. I am not still completely mindful. I am in that journey. I want to be mindful while I'm eating, while I'm working, even if I'm editing, even if I'm shooting, posting something, or even if I'm researching my competitor pages. I do always research my competitor pages on Instagram. If I'm doing, I make sure I do it for 15 to 20 minutes. I'll think of what I want to check. I'll check. I'll just come out of that Instagram. I don't want to tell that, oh no, I have so much pressure of social media. I don't want to use that statement at all. If I don't want to use that statement, I should not have that pressure. That means I have to make sure that I'm not self-pressurized so much. So yeah, that thing I have realized very soon. Social media is not eating away my time or my energy.
So also for your Ruffleberry, I mean, it's a social media based business, right? Yeah. You still would be very mindful of how much time you're spending, even though your business is run on social media. That's really good. What I really liked, Gopika, when you said live in the moment. All of us know that this second that I'm talking to you will never come back. But we are still, I think most of us, even though we know about this, we are still not very mindful of that fact. Yeah. It's like, on the cigarette pack, you know that smoking is injurious to health, but you still do it. Yeah? Then Gopika, can you also tell me, I mean, you have a baby now and you have this successful venture. As a woman, yeah, it is expected of a woman that she's responsible to run the household. You as an entrepreneur, how do you now, maintain this work-life balance? That you also are kind of responsible for your household, but also, make sure that your business is run properly. So how do you manage this?
Now, if you ask me how I should say, because I'm a woman, I can do that. We women, we can wear multiple hats and do all kinds of stuff. But honestly, when you are, dealing with certain big ventures single-handedly, then definitely it is something very difficult to balance. Fortunately, I have, my husband and my team also who takes care of it. So these times where I have a baby to deal with, they are taking care of it. But ultimately, I have to also work on designs. I need to go to office. I have to take interviews and all of that. So it's definitely little hectic for me because there is a proper schedule for my baby. He wakes up at this time, he sleeps at this time, and all of that. After he sleeps, I immediately have to wear the dress and rush to the office, and constantly I'm on phone. Like, there's a maid, I call her and is my baby awake? No ma'am, he's sleeping. Then I'll peacefully work. At the moment he wakes up, I'll be like, chalo, let's go to home. It's that guilt is there no matter how. Jan, I tell, like, don't feel, yeah man, you doing your job, your baby is fine. But that is some other thing which is there within. And definitely this work and life balance, is something I've always planned beforehand itself. The moment we have a baby, the moment the business also, hits that stage where we have to completely dedicate ourselves to the business, we still don't want to do that. We still don't want to completely indulge ourselves in the business. Let that business go the way it is. We will do whatever it is necessary to boost sales or to do something different. We'll definitely do it, but not to eat away the time that we need to put in a family. So currently, definitely we are on this verge where we are not well planned when it comes to vacations or trips. So we want to go, roam around, keep this business aside. But at this moment where sales are super high in our business, fortunately, I should say, at this time, I can neither stop this and nor can I plan for vacations and stuff like that. So this is something I feel little sad about, but again, I feel good about. It's like both. I cannot tell you my feeling exactly. But usually women take care of two different things or do multiple things. Definitely there is this balance thing that every woman faces. And no matter we say so many good things like, oh, chalo, we can do it and all of that. No, it's definitely not. It's really hard. It's tough. It involves so much of energy, so much of mind thing, so much of brain thing, so much of heart thing. It's too many emotions. Face guilt one day, you face happiness one day, you will be like, what am I doing? All of these things is definitely there. What I am doing is I'm just being mindful. Again, like I said, it's not easy. When I say mindful, it's not a word that I'm splitting. I'm saying just mindful, be mindful and do it. No, it's not that. It's really difficult to balance work, life and baby and all of these things, but I'm doing it somehow. I don't know. For the women who are into this journey, who have started journey, I can only tell that don't have that guilt or don't think that I have a baby. How will I do it? Should I do it at this point of time? No, you are given superpowers. God has given women superpowers. You guys can do it. All you have to do is just believe. Just only think positive things. Don't think negatively that what if it fails? What if I don't do it? What if this happens? Why you want to think only negative things? Think positively. What if it hits? That should drive you. That positive thing should drive you. Chalo, I'll wake up and do this. That is something. And at this point of time, when my baby is around 8 months, his weight is growing. I'm not able to carry him on my waist. Is aching and my shoulders are aching. While sleeping, he's like sleeping here, my shoulders are pain. Yet I have to do the shoots and all in the bright sunlight. I have to do the shoots and I'm so exhausted. Still I have to do it. That's the balance that we have to do it. And there is no solution, there is no answer for that, like do it this way. There's no algorithm formula as to do it this way, do it that way. No, you just have to do it. If you have that zeal, you just do it. You balance both. You balance your work, you balance your life, you do whatever it takes, just balance it both. Balance is the main thing. You're not balancing it, everything will fall in the pit. You have to just balance it. That keeps you and your family and your business, your community, everybody happy.
So you have to draw your own guide.
Exactly. There's no formula for that.
But also the importance of having a plan. I think you have touched upon this part so many times conversation. Then let me just ask you, how important do you think it is to do a good market research to understand what is the market analysis, market trend that would help you in, to build a business case basically for your venture?
See, I follow so many business people. When I learn their stories, when I read their stories, when I see them talking, there is so much that they have done to reach the stage where they are like 1,000 crore valuation companies. Their net worth is some billions and trillions. It's not easy. They have reached there. They have done something different from the crowd. There is so much of analysis. There's so much of thought behind it. Now, when I started this clothing brand, you already know the market is saturated with the dresses, saturated with clothes. The planet is crying because we are throwing so many clothes into the pit. At this point of time, if I want to start a clothing brand, there has to be something that I'm addressing. It should not be just a random clothing brand. When I started for fun, that was merely for fun. I did not think anything about environment, or I did not think anything about, what's the market gap when it comes to these sort of outfits. One day when I wanted to buy some outfits on Myntra for summer, found out that I could not find outfits that resonates with my body. I am around 5 feet tall, and I did not find outfits that could look good on my height. They were very lengthy, or they were too short that they go above my knee. There are sleeveless, there are peekaboo outfits, and a lot of skin show is there. Not too many colors or not too many prints. Most importantly, most of the outfits are either polyester or rayon. These sort of outfits, Georgette, these sort of outfits were there. I'm not very comfortable with those outfits. I want something breathable, soft, milk cotton, like that kind of. So when I was doing that, I was so shocked to see like, what? Come on, I did not find even one outfit that I could buy. That's when I started researching as to what is the market gap. I took a book. It's a 3-week research that I did. Morning I woke up until night. I only sat on that research. I started looking at many brands. I went on to Myntra, clicked on each and every brand. I saw what outfits they are making, what fabric they are using, what are the reviews. In the review section, what are the people saying? They're saying it is transparent. They're saying the way it is looking in the picture is not the same when they receive it. They're saying it is too hot, it is not absorbing the sweat. I have jotted down all these reviews. I have made a whole list of, it was very huge market analysis that I did. I also understood the people's mindset state-wise, I would say. Up north, what kind of outfits they prefer. South, what kind of outfits they prefer. So all these analysis gave me understanding as to what is the market gap and how I would fit into it, what I can do differently. That's when what this Ruffleberry, what you see on the page, basic, not transparent, these things are there. And also we address on heights, we address on sizes. We give extra margin inside, because you pay so much to an outfit, and after 2 months if your dress is becoming tight, you don't have space inside to alter it.
Absolutely. I also face this problem, so I understand this.
So that we have given. And even today, after Ruffleberry has become, I wouldn't say this has become like successful. I don't want to use that term because I have a long journey ahead. But where Ruffleberry is, I'm still working on it. I'm still looking out for problems in the market. I'm not just getting fabric, making random outfits because this outfit has clicked in my page, so I'll make these sort of outfits. No, it's not like that. I constantly look out what my customers are telling. If my customer is telling, Gopika, this bow dress is very nice, try to bring out more bow dresses. I don't want to saturate again with bow dresses. I'll try something that maybe this person would love this outfit as well. This market analysis, I think everybody should do it. They should not jump into anything just like that. And now if you see, I have almost touched these gaps and tried to work it out in my brand. But there are certain things which are not yet, I haven't seen some gaps. There are still some gaps. I know it from heart that there are still some gaps which I'm not able to see it now at this point of time. But I will do that research analysis. I'll continue doing it, and I'll try to, address all those problems in the Ruffleberry thing. So definitely market analysis is important, and that market analysis which I did that time and even till today is what helping Ruffleberry to create more beautiful outfits on a daily basis.
I mean, in a nutshell, if I have to package the USP, the unique selling point of Ruffleberry, one would be, of course, the uniqueness that you have brought. You try to close the market gap. And secondly, I also think it's the goodwill factor. Yeah, both of this, I think, is really the USP of Ruffleberry. So basically, I mean, when you look at the Kano model, of business cases, so you have the basic attributes, you faced your challenges, you had your journey. Now, if you're in a position, let's say, to advise other women who would like to start in this journey, what would you suggest them? What would be your advice regarding the step they should take? And also funding. I think funding is a very critical step when you want to become or start something on your own.
So I think women especially, they have this notion as to how they would balance, if they get into work all of a sudden, or if they, take up some business all of a sudden or some venture, how would they balance their work and, life? This is something they would always worry about. Apart from this, they also think about, like, as you said, funding. If it is like in huge amounts, then definitely that would be a problem. But the thing is, if they've really planned, the venture that they are getting into, they know what they are doing or what they would be doing, where they want to take it to. In that case, I think we all have to take that risk. That is the only way you can actually, put that first step. If you're not taking that risk, if you keep analyzing things like what would I do later in life, if these things are constantly bothering you, then definitely you would not be able to take that first step. Apart from embracing that risk taking, women especially need to have I think financial literacy. You need to know what is this funding. There are so many types of funding. You can always catch hold of your family members, your relatives. There is crowdfunding. There are a lot of other websites or places where women can get funds for their ventures. So that also is a major part of your business, whatever you want to do. That is the first step that you need to get into. If in case you are worried about the funding stuff, if family is not funding, then what are the other options? All these research, this analysis, market analysis, everything you'll have to do. So women entrepreneurs or women who want to start any sort of business, no matter it is small, big, medium, whatever it is, any department, you need to have that financial literacy, because once if your sales are, boosted, you're getting so much of, sales income, you should be able to know this tax paying, GST, for it. You cannot go and reach out to another person and ask them to do. At least you should have that, financial literacy. This is something I have learned over this journey. Like when you ask me what I changed, from my engineering days to now, this is one thing I learned in this journey. Initially, I did not have this financial literacy. Of course, in our, millennial times, we are not taught about the financial things at home. Even if we ask our parents what is the debt they hold, they don't tell us. They don't even reveal what is the debt that they have, or how are they paying for our school fees and all of that. They don't share. So in that ways, we are unaware of these financial terms and all now. But now world is moving very fast. Even 20 years, 16 years, people are knowing everything about stocks and savings, and they're all well planned. So women are planning to get into these ventures and all. You should have that financial literacy, and you should be able to take that risk. Those two things are really important. That's the only thing I can advise people to, if at all they want to start their venture. These are the things.
And I completely can agree with you here, Gopika. I mean, irrespective of whether you are going into venture or not, I think for women today, financially, independent and also aware of the finances is very, very important. Although I think in the olden days also, our mothers, they took care of the finances, but they did not understand the economics behind it, the math behind it. I kind of realized the importance of, being this financially literate over the past few years. And I think this is really important, like you just mentioned.
Right.
So moving ahead now, Gopika, what are the next milestone that you have planned for Ruffleberry? What's next coming for it?
See, now you have heard the entire story. Initially, when I started, I did not have any grand visions as to this is where I want to take, I'll make this much of revenue, I'll buy this, I'll do that, I'll make Ruffleberry into this. I did not have any grand visions, so I did not manifest in it. But at this point of time, there are a lot of things that I'm manifesting right now. And there are a lot of milestones that I'm also planning. opening some offline stores is one of the biggest milestone that we are looking at. If you ask me, like, biggest milestone, I think, I don't know, I want to see Ruffleberry in Inorbit Mall or A&B Mall. I want to see this store in the mall. I don't know when that would happen, but that is something I really want to. I don't know, I'm manifesting. I don't know when that will happen.
Inshallah, soon, Gopika, soon. But do you already
Thank you.
set a timeline? Let's say next 2 years, nothing yet. Okay. Then Gopika, after hearing the entire story of Gopika as a person, the person, and the journey that you had, for Ruffleberry, now I'm trying to close the loop now here, because for me, the essence of your entire journey was your backbone, the support system that you had. Your husband, your mother, your sister, your parents, yeah? Not everyone is fortunate enough to have this support system, yeah? And if you have to give an advice to a woman who wants to start and to the people around her, what would that be, to be that supportive?
Yeah. Like you said, yes, that's true. Not everybody is fortunate enough to have that support system. There are so many people who have started from scratch with zero support and they have reached like heights now. See, for them, I think their story also, the successful stories also began at that point where they have taken the risk. If they haven't taken that risk with zero support system, if they haven't taken that step and if they haven't become successful today, the stories that we are hearing, it's false, right? If they are, like, if you say the people who have 100% support system, they are the only ones who will be achieving, that's again a wrong thing. So I feel taking that risk, understanding what you're doing, what you want. If there is no understanding of what you want to do, where you want to go, you're just copying some other person because that person is doing this, so I'll also get into that. Okay, that is fine. If the person is doing, you're inspired, you also want to do the same thing, you can absolutely get into it. I think you'll have to be prepared. Even if you have zero support system, if you are ready, I'll do it. Chalo, let's do it. I'll see where it goes. What happens, you'll take that first step. You know what will happen? That's what I want. You have no support system. If you can do it single-handedly, I'm telling you, if you can do it single-handedly with no support system, what is stopping you? Nothing should stop you. You have to get into it. And later, people will realize what work you're doing and automatically the support system will come. But if you are looking at that support system, I totally get it. If there is a support system, mentally, physically, financially, that will be of a great help to achieve your vision, to achieve that ambition that you have in a time that is comparatively less when you do not have supports.
Yeah, understood, yeah.
It take 100 days and you would take some 50 days. The ones that those have support system, they might take 50 days, you might take 100 days. That's the only difference. Even if you have support system, you are the one who will be doing everything.
That is also true. That is also absolutely true, yeah.
That hard work, that thing that I want to do it, it's my thing, it's my company, I want to do it, I'll just get into it. That's the only thing. Always I tell, that is the only thing. Take that risk, get into it. Take that risk, get into it. I cannot tell any other line or I cannot advise any other thing apart from this, because this is the only thing we always hear. Quotations, we always hear people telling, do something, take that risk, take that risk. It is so easy for them to tell, take that risk. But now at this point of time, I know what is actual meaning of that line, take that risk. There is a quotation by Theodore Roosevelt who said, when you make decisions, it's the best thing that you do the right thing. The next best thing would be to do the wrong thing. That means it's okay to do the wrong thing. But the worst thing is to do nothing.
Absolutely, yes.
Doing nothing, that's the worst thing. You doing right thing, it's okay. You're doing wrong thing, chalo, you'll fall. Now again, you spread your wings, wake up, you move forward, learn from your failures. Now I'm successful, that doesn't mean I'm not facing any challenges. That doesn't mean tomorrow Ruffleberry is going to fall down. It's not like I'm always like my graph is upwards, right? So what if there is a failure? Will I stop it and run away? No, I have to wait, I have to resolve, I have to understand and move forward. So this is the same attitude you need to have when you're beginning it. That's it. That's the attitude you'll have to carry the entire journey. That will make your life easy, simpler. That's it.
I mean, you have put everything in so beautifully in a nutshell, Gopika, that, I really love the way you ended with the Roosevelt quote. If you do nothing, then you do nothing in the end, yeah? That's the worst thing that you can do. Yeah. And I hope that anyone who is watching this takes something from this, what you have said. I mean, it's also so motivating. I mean, I could feel the motivation. I'm pretty sure your community also, they will feel motivated by this.
And through this podcast, I'm also telling people out there who will be watching this podcast is I'm always there to assist people. I love to share my knowledge. Even when people DM me, I'm always there. No matter it takes thousands of messages, I tell them do this, do that, your business will grow. This is how I talk to them. So I'm always there to assist. I love to share my knowledge with you guys. Anytime you can just ping me on Instagram and I'm always there.
I'm pretty sure now people, after knowing and understanding your journey in depth, they will also realize it's never a straight graph. There are ups and downs, and as a human being, you have to have the zeal and the motivation to deal with that. Yeah. And we, which our wives, really, really wish Ruffleberry to, go reach new heights. And soon, inshallah, we will have a new store and we will see Ruffleberry in all the malls.
Yeah. I'll call everybody there.
We will definitely be there on its opening. Okay. Then, Gopika, I would say we can now move on to our next segment. This is called the Rapid Vichar. So, Rapid Vichar, the concept is that I'm going to ask you 5 questions and you are supposed to answer them rapidly. Okay? Are you ready?
Sure. Yeah, I'm ready.
How do you define ethics in business?
See, ethics is the new competitive market. Every brand claims that we run ethically. So ethics is something, I can say it is a USP to any brand. They can say we run ethically, that is a USP for you. But for me, ethics is being responsible to work with integrity, honesty, fairness. There has to be transparency in what you do. Care for the environment. I do not want to overproduce, anything that is in my company. So there are certain things. For me, ethics is this. I think,
Then transiting from ethics, how important is customer satisfaction for you? And if you have to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, what would that be?
Definitely it is 10 on 10. Customer satisfaction for Ruffleberry is not just selling your outfit, it is delivered, the customer is happy about it. No, it not ends there. It's that the customer should be delighted. So for me, customer satisfaction for Ruffleberry, it is not just selling the outfit, reaching them. It's not that. It is all about they being happy and returning again to buy more and more and more.
Then let's try to understand what Gopika thinks about or how Gopika sees breaking the middle class mentality.
See, I am from a middle class family, and like I said, education, values, value for the money, hard work, these are held in high regard. So even my dad always says, we should not run behind money. You should take steps with so much of caution. There has to be security. I think this one mindset that needs to, we need to shift from that mindset. Shifting from this mindset of being caution, you're caution about what you're doing, you have this security, you have to shift from that mindset to exploring what is there outside, to, open yourself, seize every opportunity that you're getting, embrace that risk, take that risk in the entire conversation I've been mentioning. From that security and caution, you have to come out and take that risk, see what is there, get into everything. But still, you should not forget and carry the middle class aspects of valuing the money, family unity, and you work with more, you're cautious about what you're doing, you do things mindfully, you're scared, a bit scared. All these things also you need to carry. It's not like you leave it there and you just explore whatever is there. You carry what is your core values and integrate them with the vision that you have, and you move forward. Everything will fall in place.
That's very well said, Gopika. Then, really, in alignment with the breaking the middle class mentality, my 4th question would be, what is the mantra of life for Gopika?
See, honestly, I don't have any mantra as to this is the way I want to, live. But there's one thing at this point of time, like in our entire conversation, I kept on saying that I want to live in the moment. I want to be mindful. So this is one thing that I am aiming to, that I want to live in the moment. I'm trying very hard so that I do not miss out on beautiful moments. So if you ask me, particularly my mantra for life is to just keep the spirit of exploration that I'm constantly doing. I want to keep it alive. And also, I am open for changes. Like, your life is not going to be the same today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Your life is going to change. All you have to do is you have to be ready to adapt to those worldly changes, which I realized very soon. And I think I'm always ready for those worldly changes. So I think I can tell that in this mantra, whatever you're asking, that I want to be ready. I'm open for the changes in the world. I'm okay. This does not work. I'm okay to get into something else.
Basic, nothing very complicated. And my last question for today would be, for the rapid Vichar, would be the names, the brand names, Nego or Ruffleberry. What is Gopika's favorite?
See, Nego is my sister's name and my name. So Netra Annie and Gopika Jivo. It's more like emotional connect, and Ruffleberry is like life changing. My life has completely changed when we incorporated Ruffleberry. So it's hard for me to choose.
It's okay. I mean, they're both closer to your heart, so it's fine. Okay, Gopika, thank you. It was fun really to have this rapid Vichar segment with you. And then let's move to our another segment, which is called Vichar Chits. So basically what we do is with our guest is we ask our guest to choose one chit which has one question. Our audience are also requested to answer this question. Either, they can answer this in our comment section on Instagram or YouTube. So I would like to ask you which color the chit you would like to choose. So, the question. So I have red, lavender, green, orange, yellow.
I'll go with yellow. That's my favorite color.
Your favorite color. Okay, this is something new that we got to know. Yellow is Gopika's favorite color. Okay, so Gopika, I have this question. The question for you is, if there is something that you want to change about yourself, what would that be?
I think it's a positive and negative thing, I would say. I overthink. In...
Welcome to the club.
I overthink. But that overthinking actually helps me to lay my plans effectively. Because I look at a thing while making decision, I look at multiple corners, I see and I analyze and I write pros and cons, and I want to understand if I would be ready if something, bad happens. That much I overthink. Like in this entire conversation, I said, what happens if it fails? It fails. What happens? I'm telling you that because I have come out of that zone. I've tried a lot to come out of that what happens zone to what happens to that zone. So that is the one thing I'm aiming for, to reduce as much as I can, because sometimes it hampers the peace that you have with it. Like Buddha says, peace does not come from outside, it comes from within. So definitely overthinking is something I want to curb as much as I can. But I trust my abilities, I trust my decisions, I trust everything. Then why to worry? So that is one thing I want to really change.
And I can completely tell you, this is also the journey that I'm taking. And again, Gopika, there's so many points that, I can resonate with you. I think we can, I know you somehow because this is also somehow my own personality,
Yes.
So Gopika, thank you so much. Yeah, it was a very mazedar conversation. Got to know a lot about you and about Ruffleberry. Things that I think your community and also our audience would love to know and learn from you. Yeah. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Actually, we were planning to have a live session on Ruffleberry since a very long time, but I did not get that time to, sit and answer my community's questions or requests. Through this medium, I think I'll just DM all my members of Ruffleberry to go check this interview that I have given, because this is my first podcast, and I think this I need to share with my family, which is the Ruffleberry community. So yeah, I'm so lucky. I'm thankful that you have seen our journey and you've chosen me for your podcast. I think that is something I think I'll remember this forever. Thank you so much, Noel.
No, thank you, Gopika, for your kind words. I mean, yeah, our pleasure, entirely our pleasure.
All the best to you guys as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Noel.
Like, share, and subscribe to our channel.
Vichar Vibes.